Derek Chisora has always been a formidable competitor, consistently holding his own against elite-level opposition. On paper, it's easy to argue that Chisora boasts the stronger resume and should come out on top with relative ease. However, the challenge lies in the fact that age is beginning to catch up with him. At 41, he's stepping into the ring against a fresher, younger Otto Wallin, who, at 34, holds the clear advantage in terms of youth and durability. Had this bout taken place half a decade ago, the outcome might have been far more predictable. But at this stage, things aren't so cut and dry. Wallin, when at his best, is elusive, using his movement and technical boxing skills to frustrate opponents. Given how poorly he fared when exchanging heavy shots with Anthony Joshua, it's doubtful that he'll opt for a slugfest with Chisora either. Wallin doesn't possess fight-changing knockout power, so his best bet would be to fight smart, sticking and moving while accumulating points to secure a decision win. We've already seen Wallin at his most effective. His performance against Asiev, for instance, where he remained composed, utilized his jab efficiently, and controlled the fight with clever footwork. If he sticks to a similar game plan, this could pose a serious challenge for Chisora. While the veteran is undoubtedly stronger and significantly more experienced, his fighting style thrives against brawlers like Dillian Whyte or Joe Joyce, where he can go blow for blow in a war of attrition. Wallin, on the other hand, is more likely to rely on movement, something that has caused Chisora problems in the past. We've seen him struggle in fights where he's had to chase opponents around the ring, as was the case against Gerald Washington, Agit Kabayel, and Senad Gashi. At this stage in his career, that kind of fight could prove even more draining. If Wallin can stay out of trouble while steadily outscoring Chisora, a decision victory for the Swede wouldn't be shocking. The deciding factor will be whether Chisora can cut off the ring, close the distance, and land damaging shots, similar to what Joshua did against Wallin. One potential edge for Chisora is that this fight is scheduled for 10 rounds rather than 12, which might allow him to fight at a higher intensity without worrying as much about conserving energy. Then again, the shorter fight could also work in favor of the younger and better conditioned Wallin. When all is said and done, Chisora has historically been the superior fighter, but years of wear and tear are beginning to take their toll. This matchup seems like a risky stepping stone en route to his landmark 50th fight. That said, he clearly believes he has the tools to beat Wallin, perhaps due to their past sparring encounters. Either way, it's shaping up to be an intriguing fight. What are your thoughts? Drop your predictions in the comments. Here's the rewritten version with different wording while keeping the same meaning intact. And this isn't the first time he's played this card. Last year, he threw the same accusation at Joe Joyce, claiming he wasn't built for the fight. Game. Did that get into Joyce's head? We'll never know. But what we do know is that Dillboy walked away with the victory. To be fair to Wallin, though, the criticism isn't entirely warranted. Sure, AJ overwhelmed him, but he never actually hit the canvas. He remained alert, and from what we know, the only real issue was a reported broken nose, which ultimately led to him and his trainer deciding to call it quits. So, that brings up an important question. Is that a valid reason to stop a fight, especially at the highest level? Probably not. An even better question is, would the legendary Derek Chisora ever wave the white flag after just 5 rounds when things weren't going his way? The answer is almost certainly no. And before you bring it up, yes, I know he retired in the second Fury fight after 10 rounds, but that was purely down to sheer exhaustion. Wallin, on the other hand, wasn't exhausted against AJ. To be fair though, he probably did us all a favor by pulling out because, let's be honest, that fight was painfully dull. Still, D-Boy had no hesitation in calling him out for it to his face. The moment you step into that ring in front of the whole world, you should stand your ground and throw your shots, he told Wallin. But instead, you took the easy way out, the safe way out. You didn't even trouble Anthony, and honestly, I don't understand what happened to you that night. You just froze. From that point on, you won't be shocked to hear that. D-Boy completely dominated the verbal exchange. I told you, he said, watching Wallin squirm. You got upset and I apologized, but you shook my hand off like you knew the game, bro. But the true highlight of the face-off, their sparring story. What happened when you spar? We had some good work, Wallin replied. It wasn't as long as I expected, but, I left because my manager was charging me 10 grand a week. Wait, what? D-Boy's eyebrows shot up. I was only getting about $1,000 a week, Wallin admitted. Oops, rookie mistake. Well, if that's true, it wasn't my manager. I don't even know who you're talking about. On, Otto. He's playing with you, and you've walked straight into it. He's reeled you in hook, line, and sinker. That's what makes D-Boy special. Unpredictable, quick-witted, and a pure troublemaker. Any up-and-coming fighter should take notes because if you can even capture a fraction of his charisma, you'll build yourself a fiercely loyal fan base. And in the end, this entire exchange just reinforces Chisora's point, doesn't it? Wallin simply isn't cut from the same cloth. With absolute ease, D-Boy has gotten inside his head, leaving him flustered and unsure of himself. "You don't have it in you," Chisora declared. "I've been around this game with so many fighters, and I can see it. You don't have it in you. And in that ring, I'm going to break your heart." All the trash talk aside, the real question remains. Was Wallin overhyped before the AJ fight? Did people put too much stock in his performance against Fury a few years ago? That's for you to decide. Personally, I'd say he's a solid European level and fringe world level contender, capable of giving good fighters a tough test, but lacking the power to truly make it at the elite level. So, in a way, his career path isn't all that different from D-Boy's, who has spent the past decade, or 2, or 3 at this point, hovering in that same territory. And on paper, that should make this fight reasonably competitive. One thing that isn't up for debate, though, is the sheer level of opposition they've faced. D-Boy has shared the ring with some of the sport's absolute best: Usyk, Fury, Klitschko, Parker, and the list goes on. Granted, he didn't come away from those fights with much to show for it, not even a token victory. But still, he's been in there, and that kind of experience is invaluable. Sure, here's the rewritten version with different wording while keeping the essence intact. It's no secret that old D-Boy is nearing the end of his career. He's chasing that magic number 50, just like old Moneybags did, and his final fight is shaping up to be a spectacle. The rumors are swirling. Francis Ngannou in Africa, a possible trilogy bout with Dillian White, and even a somewhat lost-looking Deontay Wilder has been thrown into the mix. And honestly, I'd be all in for that. A few years ago, when Wilder was sending opponents into another dimension, it wouldn't have been the best matchup for D-Boy, who tends to soak up a lot of damage. Back then, Wilder wasn't quite skilled enough to take down the absolute elite, but he certainly had enough firepower to handle D-Boy. Now though, I'd say the playing field has evened out quite a bit. Regardless, fight number 50 is going to be huge, memorable, financially rewarding, and a well-earned farewell for a man who's given everything to the sport. And let's be real, the payday will come in handy, considering he seems to only be able to afford half a haircut these days. Just take a look. But before all that, he's got Otto Wallin to deal with. Yep. How D-Boy has managed to turn this 10-rounder into a headline event is beyond me. But here we are. Fight number 49 goes down this Saturday against a guy whose biggest claim to fame is taking Fury the distance, giving him a nasty cut, and then getting completely demolished by AJ. No disrespect to Wallin, but there's not a whole lot else to write home about. He's a good fighter, sure, but this matchup lacks the chaos, the drama, and the edge that usually comes with a classic D-Boy fight. And let's be honest, it doesn't exactly scream knockout excitement either. That said, here's the issue. If D-Boy wants that milestone 50th fight, he has to get through this one first. And stylistically, Wallin isn't exactly the best matchup for him. We'll dive into that in a bit, but first, D-Boy is coming off a surprising win over Joe Joyce, one that caught a lot of people off guard. I mean, I never thought he'd outbox the Juggernaut in a million years, but here we are. Wallin, on the other hand, squeezed in a quick fight last July against some fella named Hardy, stopping him in the first round. But as for a proper test, his last real challenge was getting completely dismantled by AJ in December 2023. No surprises there. Wallin's a bit of a puzzle. On paper, he's a capable southpaw with some solid wins just below world level. He gave Fury a tough fight, so he must be a handful, right? But then came the AJ bout, where he was completely outclassed, battered for 5 rounds, and then decided to call it quits. That performance took the wind out of his sails, killed his momentum, and, harsh as it sounds, made fans start questioning his toughness and ability. And of course, D-Boy wasn't going to let that slide during their face-off. If you haven't seen their sit-down with the ever-entertaining Dev Sani, do yourself a favor and check it out. Pure gold. D-Boy didn't hold back either. "What do you think of this guy?" Dev asked. "He's a good fighter. Solid. But he's missing one thing: he's got no heart," D-Boy shot back.